He produces monthly, quarterly, and annual publications. He's the city's spokesperson. Who is he? You'll meet him coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Myrtle Beach Herald. We're focused on the third busiest tourist destination in the country, the city of Myrtle Beach. And we're visiting with its public information officer, Mark Kruea. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for getting with us.
Glad to do it.
You know, a week after all the Sun Fun activities and a couple of weeks after the Memorial Day Bike Fest and a few weeks after the Harley-Davidson rally, Myrtle Beach has been hopping recently.
Yeah, we're in full-out mode, I guess you would say. Pretty much it's busy from the middle of May all the way through Labor Day for us. This is our crunch time, if you will. In fact, we even do a little thank you picnic for the staff members prior to all of the activities, and then we'll do another one at the end of after Labor Day just to let them know that we really appreciate how much extra they do during the summertime. We ask a lot of our staff people.
Mark, you know, it's fascinating. Hilda Carter was with us yesterday, who's lived in the city many, many years. I don't want to say how many decades even, because I don't want to date her. But, you know, hearing her talk about that old 3-month time period where so much money was made and then where they would have to skimp and save for 9 months. And, of course, for the I mean, many folks who've been in the city think that way. And, of course, you recognizing employees that way is much a testament to the real heavy workload for 3 months.
Absolutely. It's gotten to the point where we really don't have a slow, non-existent tourist period. December, January have their own little crowds, but certainly things pick up in February with golfers and then spring break, and then you're into Easter and then Memorial Day and the full Sun Fun summertime event. So the shoulder seasons are busier, and they're getting a little bit shorter as the tourist season increases.
Mark, you know, we think about our viewers in the PD in southeastern North Carolina, folks in Laurinburg, for instance, who come down to Horry County on a regular basis. They come to the city of Myrtle Beach, or they come to other parts of the county, they think they're in Myrtle Beach.
That's true. For the visitor from Ohio or Virginia or New York, the whole place is Myrtle Beach. And certainly for us locals, we have to pay attention to the jurisdictional boundaries. You know, our service stops here and somebody else's picks up there. The people who are a little closer, the Bennettsvilles, the Laurinburgs, they may have a little better feel for it, but it is still all Myrtle Beach to them. So we need to be able to say thank you to them for visiting as well, and hopefully our neighbors will make them welcome too.
A great idea, that thank you for visiting. I saw that in virtually of course, those stickers are still on many businesses in town all over. What was the impetus for that?
That was a suggestion from the mayor to say thank you for visiting, and we're in the process of making sure that those stickers appear on most city vehicles, and we'll leave them there. That will be a permanent campaign, so that you'll see that forever.
Sounds like a Chamber of Commerce idea. It's great. It's great to know that came out of city council and city management there. That's wonderful. You know, we think about all the activities going on in the city, and of course, recently we've seen, and the media sees oftentimes, the Friday faxes you send out. And you've been highlighting some very interesting kind of fun facts for folks to make sure they understand. I think one recognized almost 1 trillion gallons of water. What was that last Friday fax a couple of weeks ago?
Tremendous amount of water. Our water treatment facility serves Myrtle Beach, but also North Myrtle Beach as well. And we have to be able to, I mean, we're just a town of 23,000 people, but we have to be able to provide water for 400, 500,000 people on the weekend. So we've recently increased the capacity to 40 million gallons a day at peak. And we average about 16 probably over the course of a 365-day year. But last year they pumped 6 billion gallons of water.
Wow.
With treated water, not just plain, but treated water.
Right,
so
good water. Yeah.
That's a lot of water.
That is. When you say that, Mark, a permanent population of 23,000. The square mile, can I put you on the spot on that? Do you know?
It's 22, just above 22 square miles.
Is that right? Yes. And when we think of Horry County of 1,100 plus square miles, I mean, it is really that small slice of...
That little piece. Yeah, I think Horry County is 40 miles or so smaller than the state of Rhode Island.
Right.
So.
Right. Incredible. Incredible. A lot's been happening recently. Of course, the friendship team's one thing folks heard a lot about leading up to the Memorial Day Bike Fest and heard a lot about it during. How did it go?
It went very well. Actually, that's something that started for the Harley-Davidson event about 9 years ago. And then when the Memorial Day event grew, we added it to the Memorial Day event as well. So we have friendship team members who are wearing their yellow T-shirts in place in businesses and restaurants and hotels for for that week. I think we made 1,600, 1,700 T-shirts this year.
Wow.
And then we have people who walk on the Ocean Boulevard for both the Harley-Davidson event and the Atlantic Beach Memorial Day event in their bright yellow Friendship Team T-shirts. And people ask you, well, what are you doing out here? Well, we're being friendly. And that literally is the answer. We're there to be friendly, to greet people to the community, to put a local face on the community, to let people know that, gee, someone actually lives here. We're glad that you're here. Welcome. Can we answer any questions?
Do you get a lot of questions? What are some of the questions? Did you get, I guess you were out there in T-shirt.
I was out there in my bright yellow T-shirt walking on Ocean Boulevard. The crowds are very friendly. It's a fun time. It's sort of your ticket to the party, which is nice because you can get out and walk and mingle and have a good time. You get questions about where the hotels are. People aren't sure where their particular hotel is. And you get some other questions about how the city functions and its operations.
Right. You were last with us the first week of April, Mark, and I believe at that time there was a lot going on. There was some debate as to what was going to happen leading up to the Harley-Davidson event or the Carolinas Harley-Davidson event. Of course, one of it was regarding flow of traffic on lanes on Ocean Boulevard. How did that turn out? Or were you happy with the result, or was the city happy? I know you speak for the city at some level. How did the city feel about the result there, and how did it impact the Memorial Day event?
I think things went extremely well for both events. The Fourth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Richmond allowed the city to use whatever traffic plan it saw fit the traffic best. So we were able to use the traffic plans that made sense to us based on the traffic. For the Harley-Davidson event, we had a traffic plan that had emergency lanes in the 2 outer lanes of Ocean Boulevard and then traffic in the 2 inner lanes of Ocean Boulevard between 21st North and 3rd Avenue South. For Harley-Davidson, the traffic really moves away from the boulevard to the rest of the county over a 60-mile area.
Right.
The Harleys use Ocean Boulevard sort of as the base, but they spread out and go elsewhere, from Little River all the way to Georgetown, to all the venues there. For the Memorial Day weekend, we use a different traffic pattern because the traffic is different. There are more cars, more vehicles altogether, more pedestrians. Ocean Boulevard is the destination during the Atlantic Beach Memorial Day event. Unlike the Harley-Davidson event where everybody moves away from Ocean Boulevard, everybody comes to Ocean Boulevard, so the traffic is almost exactly opposite in terms of volume, number of people, number of vehicles, kinds of vehicles. So we use again, there are 2 travel lanes, just as there are for Harley-Davidson, but we use a different plan so that we can get emergency vehicles up and down the boulevard.
Right.
You can't take 40 minutes to respond to a fire alarm. That's just not acceptable. But also so traffic will move on Ocean Boulevard, and the pedestrians will have a safer environment to walk and mingle and enjoy each other. So for both weekends, the traffic patterns worked really well. Ocean Boulevard was extremely busy this past, for the Memorial Day weekend.
Sure.
We had the U.S. Justice Department's Community Relations Service in town. They had officers from as far away as Seattle, actually.
Wow.
And they had a great time. They enjoyed it. They reported a much larger crowd on the boulevard than I think they were expecting. It was the first time for some of them. So things went extremely well, I thought, overall.
And that, of course, was in the city of Myrtle Beach. I assume those folks were heading up to Atlantic Beach as well, or other parts of the county, or were they primarily just in Myrtle?
Well, some of them come literally just to be in Myrtle Beach and on Ocean Boulevard. The traffic on Ocean Boulevard managed to move. There were parts of Kings Highway where the traffic didn't move because there were so many people who wanted to be there.
Right.
The area between Ocean Boulevard and Atlantic Beach is by far the most congested during that weekend because those are the 2 centers of activity for that weekend. Those days, I guess, exploded with visitors back in the late 90s, 98, 99, 2000, and Ocean Boulevard was overwhelmed. It stopped functioning, and that's when we implemented the traffic plan to help the cars and vehicles get up and down the boulevard, help the pedestrians have a safe environment.
Right.
And it's worked very well since then.
Mark, about yourself, have you been in this role as public information officer for long for the city of Myrtle Beach?
This is, I think, my 7th year doing this for the city.
And you'd had a background in a similar capacity, or what is your background?
A little bit of both. I've been on both sides of the desk. I've been in the news media, both radio as a news director and television as a bureau chief and reporter, and then as a public relations person for a law enforcement agency and a college.
I've heard Steve Porter on the radio reference you as the public relations officer for the city of Myrtle Beach, and I always think it's PIO.
It is.
Right.
I'll answer to just about anything.
I'm sure so. That's right. Answer to Mark and many other things, of course. And I was speaking about the Herald, thinking about just last week, Joe Ruizzi had a funny cartoon, a couple of folks getting married underwater, and an octopus saying, "Stay away from the sand." And there was an idea recently of some thoughts about weddings on the beach and some other sale of items. Is the city of Myrtle Beach different than any other county destinations for sale of lemonade, let's say, or weddings on the beach?
Yes and no, I suspect, is the answer to that question. City Council has a long-standing policy, going back decades, of not commercializing the beach. People come here to vacation. They don't want to be hit up for a T-shirt or a disposable camera, or can I spray some sunscreen on you, or do you want to buy this particular product, or can I take your picture, or would you like a timeshare opportunity? So council has maintained a very strict rule that we will not allow the beach to be commercialized.
Right.
So once you open that door, once you say, well, yes, you can do this, everybody's going to want to push through that door.
Sure.
And the beach would be wide open. And council does not want that to occur. Weddings are a good thing. You mentioned weddings. Weddings are a great thing, but when you've got a wedding service that you're paying several $100s, you've really got a commercial transaction there.
You've begun to open that door.
You're buying a service. And that's what we can't really get into on the beach. So if you've got somebody who wants to get married on the beach, they can bring as many people as they want. If their uncle or cousin is a minister and will be happy to perform the ceremony, that's great. When you want to pay somebody to set that wedding up, or have to hire a minister and a service and so forth, then there are other opportunities. We have some parks in the commercial areas that have oceanfront views that people are welcome to use. We have lovely parks on Ocean Boulevard, for example, up in the 50s. There's a great-looking park that gets used for a wedding all the time, HB Springs Park. So there are other opportunities, but we do not commercialize the beach.
Those are great words. Mark, if a viewer wanted to learn more about opportunities like that, is there a good number they could call within the city of Myrtle Beach, or a website they could learn more?
There is. Actually, that's the number one question that we get. So it's the top question about weddings and all the wedding licenses and parks and so forth on our frequently asked questions page on the website. Or they can call myself, and I'll be glad to answer those questions.
Okay, that's the 843-918 1014 number. Of course, folks can go online. There's a plethora of information online. What's the web address for the city?
www.cityofmyrtlebeach, have to spell it all out, cityofmyrtlebeach.com.
Okay, great. Tons of great information on there. And one of those early pages just about administration, laying out the council manager form of government. The city of Myrtle Beach is probably not different than many of the cities in our viewing area.
That's true. Most of the bigger towns, particularly in the south, have a council manager form of government. A lot of the smaller towns may still have either a strong council or a mayor-council form of government. But Myrtle Beach, Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg, Rock Hill, Charlotte, Raleigh, all of those towns have a council manager form of government.
Right. Recently we've seen a lot about the WIN meetings, the Working to Improve Neighborhoods meeting. How have those been going off, and what was the idea behind that originally?
Well, that I think was a bigger project than anybody envisioned, and has turned out very well. We're in the last round of meetings now in June for the various neighborhoods inside the city of Myrtle Beach. In fact, we've got a group that meets for the neighborhoods that are just outside the city of Myrtle Beach, which is nice too. They've gone very well. They've gotten a great number of ideas together, and they're now in the process of looking at those ideas, finalizing them, and then figuring out how to get that plan adopted so that the city council is aware of all the ideas and the neighborhood's wants, and will actually help implement those plans.
I was fascinated to see the respondents' answers back, or much of what the city was planning, the city planning department was getting into on some of the feedback they were getting from members of the different communities, the communities surrounding the air base here, the Seagate Village, and some of the other groups that got together. It was a tremendous response, a multi-page response back highlighting what was planned to be done.
And that's one of the challenges that we face, particularly in the summertime, but year-round, and that is that we're a residential community. We're a living, breathing, dynamic town, and still welcome millions of visitors during the course of the year. So you have to balance the residents' needs with the visitors' needs, the commercial side, and make sure that everybody stays happy and all of that. But you're right, multi-page list of ideas and suggestions and likes and dislikes and plans for the future.
Another thing a lot of folks have been talking about recently, Mark, a couple of things. Of course, parking meters. One, prepay for gas is a big issue, and I know a viewer recently called in to ask about the aspect about what do they do with their cash? Do they go in, and what happens if the numbers are mixed up? What are some of the other questions that have worked out, some of the big questions out there regarding prepaying for gas?
This is something that Council came to slowly along the way, but has decided that, gee, for the city's benefit, it's a good thing to do. Mount Pleasant has already done it and has seen tremendous results in Mount Pleasant. Their gas drive-offs drops to 0 in Mount Pleasant. In Myrtle Beach, we're a tourist town. We've got millions of people who've come through here. We were on a pace to have more than 800 gasoline drive-offs this year.
Just within the city of Myrtle Beach?
Just within the city of Myrtle Beach this year. Some of the stations had as many as 40 or 50 drive-offs. And the question is, well, why can't the businesses decide to do this for themselves? And it's a competitive issue. If everybody has to do it, they're much happier with it. From the law enforcement side, catching somebody who drives away with gasoline is difficult. The clerks don't always get a description of the car or the person or the license tag.
Right.
And you spend literally up to 30 minutes between taking the report and doing the paperwork on something that has no chance of being solved. So Council, realizing that it could eliminate this category of crime, this crime will stop happening. People will stop stealing gas if you require them to pay for the gas up front. So if you use a credit card or a debit card, you can pay at the machine, and that's great. If you use cash, you'll have to run in and make a transaction at the outset and then go back and settle up if there's some settling up to do. It is a little bit more inconvenient for the customer, but from the city standpoint, from the law enforcement standpoint, you've saved a tremendous amount of police time, and you've managed to knock this crime out. You've stopped people from stealing something.
Absolutely, and I'm sure the location owners are working hard with their attendants to make sure they're on the lookout for folks just running in to pay for gas and don't want to get in a long line.
Right.
Here's my credit card, or here's some cash, and so they don't have to stand in line just to be able to put some money down.
Right.
It could be a big inconvenience otherwise with the traffic here in the summertime. So I'm sure the owners are helping the attendants really be on the lookout.
They are, and they're pretty excited about this, I think, as a group. They may not all be, but I think as a group they are. And it takes effect July 1st. I want to get that in there.
Okay,
it's
July
not in
1.
effect yet, July 1st.
Again, if a viewer had questions, they could give you a call
Feel
at the
free.
918-1014. And again, that's 843. It's important for our viewers in southeastern North Carolina to know they can call in if they want to learn. Of course, you also highlight folks to call the 626-7444 number, I guess, over the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce.
Or their 800 number, which is 800-356-3014.
Okay, great, good. And I'm sure you get a lot of calls and lots of questions of things that are probably more aptly answered by the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce.
We exchange emails on a regular basis, yes. We're good about trading off. They'll send me answered questions, and I'll send them questions.
Right.
So.
Parking meters is something that have kicked off in the not-too-distant past in the city of Myrtle Beach. Mark, what was the history behind not having them for so long, and why they kick off, and how have they been doing for the city?
Most towns have parking meters. If you go someplace, it's not unusual to see a parking meter. I was in Chapel Hill, North Carolina recently and got a parking ticket because I just didn't see the meter. In our case, there are a couple of reasons for that. One is we're a new town, we're fairly young, our parking just wasn't regulated. It would be hard to tell in many cases what was a public space, what was a private space, what the heck kind of space is that. And putting a parking meter up regularizes that so that you know that if there's a meter there, it's absolutely a public space and you can park there and you're not going to get towed if you're parked in front of a parking meter. So that's a good thing. It's also a means of generating some turnover so that people aren't monopolizing spaces, so that staff members from boulevard stores aren't monopolizing spaces that the customers could use. So it generates some turnover so that people aren't stuck in one space all day long.
Good.
And then it generates some money back to the city that it can use to create more parking, more public parking, and that's what the city will do with that money.
That's where those funds are being utilized.
Yes.
Almost throughout the city, I think I've seen some of the areas, maybe in the downtown area, some of the parking meter funds are being used for other things, or no? Am I wrong? I was thinking about DRC.
Well, the DRC is part of that. They will be the ones to create the additional public parking.
Okay. That's
they're
perfect.
working on behalf of the city. sort of an arm of the city, if you will.
The Downtown
Redevelopment
Redevelopment Corporation, again, a very important, a lot of
Yes.
critical things happening with DRC recently. We got about 5 minutes, Mark. What are a couple of things top of mind with DRC going on?
Right now, the DRC is doing two things. One, they're looking at potential firms to look at the pavilion site, so they're doing that right now.
Right.
And then they're also talking about a strip of land that the city owns along the beach, throughout most of the city actually, that's between the hotels or the residences and the beach itself. And the question is, how can we use that? There are some deed restrictions on that property. I think there's a chance that we can get those deed restrictions lifted through a fairly lengthy process. And then the question becomes, how do we best use that land for public purposes? So that's another issue that's going on there. We've talked about a boardwalk. DRC has talked about a public boardwalk for the beach, which would be a great addition.
Exciting in the last couple of weeks for the Plyler family and so many
Yes.
others. The Justin Plyler Park there, right at the end of Mr. Joe White Avenue, being recognized, and I'm sure a lot of folks out there that day, rain or shine, to
Yes.
see the turnout for that.
Absolutely, and that's turned into a great public space there at the foot of
is.
Mr. Joe White Avenue. You get a great view of the ocean and a good place to gather with friends and family. So.
Speaking of public place, another great place to gather, the Myrtle Beach Train Depot.
Yes.
A lot been going on recently. I think they were selling bricks until May 31st and had to expand it past that because of such a tremendous response.
There really has been a great response to that. If you haven't been to the depot, stop by. It's a gorgeous historic building. There are pavers in the ground there, and you can see where people have put bricks in honor of their family members or things that make a difference to them anyway. And we've continued that a little bit. If you'd like to buy a brick, and the donation goes to the city.
They could learn about that at citymyrtlebeach.com as well?
Yes.
Okay, great. Probably something at the train depot. And, of
Yes.
course, for you, Mark, not only having to update and keep citymyrtlebeach.com up to date, also having to feed Time Warner and the City of Myrtle Beach cable channel 15, the MBTV.
Correct.
What are some of the other aspects as public information officer that really keep you hopping?
Well, answer media inquiries,
Right.
which is certainly one of them. Have to go to all the city council meetings, which I'd gladly let someone else do. Do publications, do an internal newsletter, an external newsletter. Certainly the Friday fax to the news media, which
Right.
goes out by email to 400, 500, 600 people.
Wow. That many folks,
So it really does go out that wide.
You've got folks outside of the area as well. Obviously, a lot of smaller community papers in the PD area, and others want to know what's happening in Myrtle Beach. You probably have a ton of other people.
There are a good many just residents and business people in town who are on that list. And I'll open it up to anybody who wants to know on a weekly basis what the city has in terms of meetings and agendas and just other fun facts to know in town.
You've got some great stuff about building permits, give great leads for, I mean, that's a great thing that probably a lot of chamber members would love to have and be interested in. That's, and particularly some of those fun facts. What about a couple other questions that a lot of folks target? I mean, I think you mentioned back in early April that a lot of folks want to know about weddings on the beach or weddings at the beach or some other chamber-related questions.
They want vacation information. They want to know, oddly enough, what there is to do when they come to Myrtle Beach.
Oh, yeah.
And, to spend 10 minutes saying, oh, there's all this to do. There really is a lot to do when you come to Myrtle Beach. I don't think anybody will be disappointed when they get here and they say, oh, shoot, all there is the beach. There's a lot more than the beach.
There sure is.
They ask all sorts of odd questions. What's the weather going to be like in September? They want to know a variety of things.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. And a lot of that stuff they can find at citymyrtlebeach.com by going online. You have even some temperature charts there at the website, which is great, along with a lot of business information. One of the things that I hadn't seen recently, or that was recognized when I visited the site, was the Franklin G. Burroughs Simeon B. Chapin Art Museum down at the end of South Ocean Boulevard. An amazing resource for the city.
It is, and that's something that the city has stepped up to help the arts community with. The city actually owns the building and lets the art museum itself run it and operate it. But the city, because the art museum was struggling a little bit, said, well, we can help and actually purchase the building for them, so it's part of the city now.
Absolutely. And just this weekend, of course, the big events, I believe tomorrow, the big Free Family Day, and a new campaign kicked off just yesterday, a new showing. So the support of the city has really helped turn that museum around.
And if you haven't been there, admission is free these days. You wander in, the artwork is very good. So,
how has the city changed since you began as public information officer 7 years ago, Mark?
New roads. The new roads have made a tremendous difference. The underground utilities have made a great difference. It's prettier. It's just a much more beautiful place to be. I think we're a little more cosmopolitan even than we were 5 or 6 years ago. I think we're growing in that sense too.
And of course, some of that stuff has happened in county land right around the city of Myrtle Beach, but as we say, so few folks actually think of those demarcation lines unless you live here in the county or in surrounding counties. We've seen a lot of that Grand Dunes area, of course, Broadway at the beach.
Right.
Some of the things expanding on the south end, right here on the former Air Force Base. This amazing development. It's beautiful.
Yes, and the Air Force Base here is inside the city. Grand Dunes is inside the city, so those are great things that are adding to our tax base and our residential population base. I think here at the Air Force Base you'll see tremendous growth with 1,600 new homes being built, a nice urban center coming to this area. So we're pleased, we're excited. We have a lot going on.
Absolutely, Mark. And again, for folks to learn more, they can call you or go online. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Happy to do it.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Mark Kruea coming up next. So much going on, we can't keep up with it. Almost 30 minutes with the city's public information officer. We didn't get into the Alliance Inn or the Citizens Police Academy or Myrtle's Market or Whispering Pines. We didn't even touch on it. You can go online to citymyrtlebeach.com or you can give them a call at 843-918-1014. We didn't get into Mark's 25th college reunion at Wake Forest. We didn't even get into his 30th high school reunion coming up. Not to date, Mark, but you can go online to find out more. citymyrtlebeach.com or 843-918-1014.